G'day guys, M8T5 here, and today I'll be reviewing Wolfenstein the New Order. So Wolfenstein the New Order is an action-adventure first-person shooter that I reviewed on the PlayStation 4, and it tells the story of William B.J. Blazkowicz. Oh, grow up! And at the very start of the game, you're fighting Nazis in 1946, attempting to break into a fortress that holds evil experiments and technology that the Nazis are utilizing. And after a few events and intense moments, you end up in an alternate timeline of 1960, in which the Nazis won the war and have taken over the world. Now, it's up to you, BJ, and your group of resistance fighters to take up arms and take down the Nazi scum. So if you didn't know, Wolfenstein is like the godfather of first-person shooters, with its release of Wolfenstein 3D in 1992, in which first-person shooters after it would take influence from. But with the newer games, it's been kind of hit and miss and, not bringing anything new to the table when it comes to first-person shooters. But I'm happy to say that I think Wolfenstein the New Order is probably one of the most fun, entertaining first-person shooters that I've played on the PlayStation 4. This game somehow manages to combine old-school and modern-day shooting and mechanics, while also having extremely well-directed and presented characters and cutscenes. I fell in love with the direction in this game when it comes to its cutscenes. They are just so well made and kept me interested and excited every time. This is the same with the characters as well. They are directed and acted so well, with many characters in the game being from different backgrounds with interesting backstories. But in saying this, there was one thing I didn't like about the characters, and that was pretty much the love relationship between the protagonist and Anya. I just felt that the relationship was really forced and forward. I mean, it didn't really take the time to sort of develop and become like a realistic relationship. I mean, she does look after him for years and years and years, but does that really mean she's gonna jump him so soon? And with a steamy sex scene, it just left me confused. I mean, they didn't even really have a proper conversation before that happened, and she just saw me kill loads of people. I don't know, it didn't make proper sense to me, I don't know. So let's talk about the gameplay, and there's a fair bit of it too. The health system in this game takes inspiration from both old and modern style games, with you having to find health packs and armor around the areas of the game. Your health does regen, but only a little bit, to give you that fighting chance to try and find health or armor, and you can even blow armor off armored enemies to collect for yourself, which I thought was extremely useful and unique. Combat is tons of fun, and there are plenty of different strategies for you to use when it comes to engaging the enemy, with plenty of weapons and choices you can make during combat. What I mean by this is that not only can you shoot up the place, leaving a fair amount of destructible environment behind you, but you can also stealth it. This option is not always available, but most of the time it gives you the chance to sneak around, taking out enemies and generals if you want to. But it is satisfying managing to stay in stealth mode and take down generals in certain areas, and you will want to because they can call for reinforcements if you get caught before you kill them. This is an extremely useful strategy, especially if you want to limit the amount of enemies you have to kill. But of course, going in guns blazing is always a choice, and the game has so many different ways for you to shoot, stab, and blow your enemies to pieces. Not only are you able to carry every single gun in this game, but you can also dual wield any gun you want, from 2 shotguns to 2 sniper rifles. Dual wielding does pack more firepower, but in return you are slower and less accurate since you can't aim down the sights. I'm a tad disappointed that you couldn't dual wield any gun combination, for example like a shotgun and a machine gun, but hey, I've got to give the games props for giving me access to every weapon and being able to dual wield them. This game also gives you the ability to slide and lean. Sliding is only really useful to make you feel like a badass, but leaning is actually a really useful ability which is not usually used in console first-person shooters. Being able to lean around corners to spot guards or to take pot shots was extremely helpful, and I don't know why more first-person shooters don't have a mechanic like this, and also a cover mode. When crouched behind cover, you can pop your head up and take a few shots and retreat back down before the enemy knew what hit them. Although cover can be destructive, so you'll usually have to keep relocating, but that also means that your enemy has to as well. Another thing I'd like to mention is the knife in this game. This is probably one of the most impressive knife systems I've seen lately. It can be an incredibly useful tool for sneaking and can even be used as a throwing knife. But even if you get spotted, it has a great combat system and you end up the both of you just clung together and stabbing each other to death. Oh, did I not mention that this game is gruesome? Oh yes, this is probably one of the goriest games I've played on the PlayStation 4, from stabbing your enemy to death to blowing chunks out of them with a shotgun. This game can be very dark in terms of its story and contains some very gruesome scenes, but it may not be for everybody, but it does have a lot of heart and it doesn't feel out of place. I'll tell you a couple of my main highlights is that you can find a little mini-game level of the old Wolfenstein with the new Wolfenstein engine, which is actually a lot of fun, but also the dogs in this game. I mean, to be specific, the robot dogs. In terms of enemies, there is the norm from soldiers to robots to bigger, more powerful enemies, but the dogs were absolutely terrifying every time I encountered them. I mean, often the game would just leave you defenseless against these giant robot dogs, and the only choice you have is to pretty much run, and this provides excellent suspenseful scenes, especially if you happen to be wearing headphones like I did. So with all these positives, I mean, there are a few negatives. For me, it was in terms of the graphics and the unoriginality of the weapons. The graphics aren't very next-gen. Sure, the game runs fine, but it looks very dated in places, and there is this kind of odd thing you notice every now and then, that things pop into sight. For example, when you peek around a corner, there's like a slight delay for when things appear, and it's just weird, and I haven't really experienced that before. As for the weapons, they just don't feel very inspired or inventive. I would have liked some really unique Wolfenstein universe weapons, but they were very same old cliche weapons that we all know and have used before. In saying this, you are able to collect add-ons for weapons throughout the game, but only if you are able to find them, and that's not always easy. The levels have a lot of depth to them, and you can explore and to find all sorts of things throughout the game, which adds to the replayability. And when you are able to find some of these add-ons, they can be extremely useful, from silencers to grenade launchers. There is also a skill tree in this game that can unlock perks for you, and these are unlocked by doing certain actions within the game. It may not be impressive, but at least it's there, and you know, there's add-ons and there's plenty to discover and unlock, and to even warrant multiple playthroughs. So yeah, Wolfenstein the New Order is probably one of the most fun first-person shooters I've played on next-gen consoles yet. I mean, most of the next-gen first-person shooters have been pretty serious and, you know, not having fun with themselves, but this game does both. It has a sense of humor, it has that dark, you know, themes of war and violence, but, you know, it has a lot of heart, and I loved the cutscenes, I loved exploring all the areas, I loved a lot about this game. So I'm going to go ahead and give this game a solid 8 out of 10. I mean, it doesn't do anything incredibly new or amazing, but it takes all of these mechanics that we know and love and blends them together, and it just makes a really fun and entertaining game. So did you like Wolfenstein the New Order? Did you think this game was a good blend of, you know, old school and new school? And if there's anything you want to know about this game, remember to leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you. And if you like this review, remember to like me on Facebook or subscribe to me on YouTube if you want to see more. Alright guys, thanks for watching my review of Wolfenstein the New Order. Can't wait to see you for the next one. M8T5 is bloody out of here.